صلوات. नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत, नारे हैदरी। हो पीरो पंचतन के रहबर ये है, हो पीरो पंचतन के रहबर ये है। तन पांच है पर एक दिल पर यकीन है। तन पांच है पर एक दिल व यकीन है। होते हैं जहम में पांच मोती बालकाल, होते हैं सम में पांच मोती बालकाल। ईमान की सडफ के पांच कोहर ये है। सलवात।
الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة ويا عبرة كل مؤمن ومؤمنة ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم وأمنا من لجأ والتجأ إليكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم واعلموا أن الله يحول بين المرء وقلبه وأنه إليه تحشرون. Bless your gathering with the remembrance of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. As a gift to the soul of Sayyidati wa Mawlati Fatema al-Zahra salawatullahi alayha, recite the second salawat. For Allah to shower onto this gathering with His infinite mercy and compassion, and to hasten the reappearance of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, recite the third salawat with the loudest of your voices. 24th verse from the 8th chapter, Surah Al-Anfal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls onto the community of believers, the mu'mineen, to take that from Him, the Almighty, and Rasulullah, which will rejuvenate them, which will give them life, which will resurrect them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the believers, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, those who were alive, physically they were living, breathing. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, stajibu lillahi wa lirrasul. Be reactive, respond. Honor that which is given to you and offered to you by Allah and His Messenger. And then you'll be able to truly feel the essence of life. Lead the life in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to lead. Therefore Allah wants the community of believers to be a community full of knowledge and awareness, a vibrant community. Not a community that lives in a state of confusion, a community that lives in a state of ignorance, a community that lives in a state of stagnation. And this indeed was the principle in the movement and the life of every one of the ma'soomeen as well. That is why Al-Imam al-Hussein makes his mission statement when he wants to embark on the great journey that he had extremely clear for everyone. He says, إِنِّي لَمْ أَخْرُجْ أَشْرًا وَلَا بَطِرًا وَلَا مُفْسِدًا بَلْ خَرَجْتُ لِإِصْلَاحِ أُمَّةِ جَدِّي رسول الله لكي آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير على سيرة جدي وأبي. Imam Hussein then makes it clear that I embarked on this journey not for the sake of popularity, not for the sake of fame, not for the sake of governance, but to perfect the ummah of my grandfather Rasulullah, to enjoin the good and forbid the evil. Ultimately, to give life to that ummah, to rejuvenate the ummah, to resurrect that ummah. And prior to him, it was indeed his honorable mother, Fatema Zahra, who gave everything that she had. And she was the very first martyr. She was the very first person to become that exemplary figure, to stand in the face of injustice, to rejuvenate the Muslim Ummah, to give life to the Muslim Ummah. Yes, she offered herself and her beloved son Muhsin in return to give life to this Ummah that was declining so rapidly after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Therefore, Allah does not wish for the community of believers, for the global Muslim community, to be a dead community, a community of ignorance, a community of stagnation. Allah wants the Muslim community to be a mean of pride, to lead the way when it comes to human rights, justice, freedom, knowledge, awareness. 1,400 years after the descension of this ayah, after the revelation of this ayah, we ask ourselves, is the Muslim community an alive community? Is it a community that we can be proud of? Is it that community which has taken that which was offered by Allah and Rasulullah, to remain alive, to be rejuvenated, to stay on the right path, inspired by the Holy Quran. Today, the global Muslim community, and especially the Muslim countries, are the biggest exports of refugees. The hosts of impoverished nations, the biggest numbers of unemployments and disease and malnutrition and poverty and difference in the economic class resides in the Muslim countries. The greatest numbers of political prisoners, Muslim countries. The greatest numbers of illiteracy, Muslim countries. If somebody wants to seek proper education, to go to academic universities, and to secure the best of jobs, they go the exact opposite direction of the Muslim countries. They're not a source of pride. Innocent human beings from their neighboring countries happen to lose their lives and their families and their children and drown in the midst of the ocean. They're not willing to open their doors in support to one single human being. Today, this Muslim community is represented by Daesh, by those who amputate heads and limbs in the name of Islam and in the name of the Quran. What is there to be proud of? The freedom in the Muslim countries that if anybody dares to stand against the government and speaks out, then they'll never see the light of day? Today, in the majalis of Fatema al-Zahra, and the role of the majlis, and the minbar of Rasulullah, brothers and sisters, is to continue to give life to the community, to rejuvenate the community, to inspire the community. It's not enough for us to gather in a majlis of Fatimiyya, for Fatema al-Zahra, sit for an hour or two and shed some tears and hear some repetitive stories and maybe shed some tears and leave. That is not doing injustice. That is not doing justice to the name of Fatima and the legacy of Fatima. It is only when we seek education, when we enlighten our minds and our eyes, when we are inspired by the Quran and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, is when we have given justice to the majalis of Fatimiyya. When we have inspired ourselves with the name and the legacy of Fatema al-Zahra. Or else, if we attend the majalis of Fatema al-Zahra for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and yet there are simple matters in our community that cannot be changed and resolved, and remain a stagnant community, a community that is not alive, then we've definitely have not been inspired by the true legacy of Fatima. Why do you think Fatima gave her life? Fatima gave her life for the sake of change, for the sake of perfection. And in the majalis of Fatimiyya, the usual is that what is discussed pertains the affairs of women and the rights of women and the position of women in our community. And let me ask you a frank question, an honest question. Are we happy with the situation of women and the rights of women and the treatment of women in the Muslim countries and in the Muslim communities? In the year 2017, the people or the women in the Saudi kingdom celebrated a huge victory. They were were finally able to drive. In the United States, a 15-year-old female can obtain a driving permit and drive. That's just basic rights, privileges. In the year 2017, in the cradle of Islam, the birthplace of Islam, women are celebrating the fact that they're given permission to sit behind the wheel, drive a vehicle. This is not the worst part. The worst part is they ask the muftis, the grand muftis, the ulama, the so-called scholars of Islam, who are meant to inspire us with the Quran and the traditions of Rasulullah. What do you think, O Mufti, of this permission given to women to drive? This is wrong. It's a big mistake. Why? This is because women have half a brain. Wallahi, I'm not joking. So women have half a brain. How can they allow half a brain to sit behind the wheel? That's going to endanger us all. Some Muslim countries, women until today cannot seek higher education. Some Muslim countries, women today are divorced through a text message. Let alone the madhab that allows it and the alim that allows it. Some Muslim countries, some courts in Muslim countries will grant a man divorce just by a text message that he sent to his wife, anti taliq. And if, for example, the text message happened to go to that woman 3 times in a row, then guess what? She's forbidden unto him for the rest of his life. Regardless of the fact that he was, and this is a true story, in Egypt, a man sent a text message to his wife when he was asleep. I don't know how that happened. Maybe he was drunk, maybe he was half asleep. He was upset with her anyways. Anti-Talib. In the morning, he woke up. Where's the wife? She hasn't made breakfast. Looking for her. He called her. Where are you? She says, I left. Why? He says, finally, alhamdulillah, you sent me the text message. This actually became a huge thing where they went to court and he tried to prove to them that he wasn't the one that sent the text. Maybe she was the one that went through his phone and sent the text to herself. Regardless, the judge said, no. You said anti-talib, that's it. She's divorced, 1 strike. This is Islam? This is the religion that's ought to lead the way for the rest of humanity and inspire billions of people around the world? Of course, some of us, we happen to drag this baggage with us all the way to the West, to the United States, to the United Kingdom, to the western part of the world. And I've said this before, many of us, we have a difficulty, obviously it's not as easy to travel overseas every weekend. You can't get on a plane and visit, back home, whether it's Africa or India or Karachi or Iran or Iraq, Najaf, Pakistan. So what do? Instead, we create our Islamic centers, our Islamic institutions, as places that will take us back home within a 5-minute, 10-minute drive. So when we drive to our centers, and as soon as we enter the parking lot, we're presumed that we have gone back home. Even the way we speak changes. Have you realized sometimes? You see people outside the mosque, they speak differently. Inside the mosque, their accent changes. The way we dress changes. The way we behave changes. The way we act changes. Everything changes. Because when we come here, it's convenient for us. I've gone back to Karachi, to India, to Dar, to Iraq, with a 20-minute drive. And as soon as we leave, everything goes back to life. Everything goes back to normal. We go back to our normal lives. And we've been doing things the cultural way for the most part. And we have incorporated our cultures versus the incorporation of the religious teachings. And like I said, we are here for change, or to discuss change. And to stimulate our minds. A community in America, they built a mosque, a beautiful one. And the city that hosted the mosque elected a woman as a mayor. So they went to congratulate the mayor. And then they told her, we want you to attend our Ramadan program. So this woman, this female, who happened to be the mayor of their city, came to the mosque. They received her at the door. She was about to make her way into the beautiful mosque, the nice entrance. They said to her, excuse me, hold on. Where do you think you're going? This is the entrance. She says, but what is this? She says, this is the men's entrance. You go from that entrance, the small one. The small door in the back, this is the woman's entrance. Please go from there. So she said, okay. So she makes her way through the small entrance in the back, and she sees a hall full of women and children. A separated hall. Why are those women here? Oh, they're going to watch you through the small television screens. That's why they're here. Okay. So she stands there and she gives us a lecture. She speaks. She congratulates the community for Ramadan. She leaves. At the door, she tells the management or the president or whoever he was, I feel sorry for the woman in your community. What kind of treatment is this? You put them in a different hall, different entrance, smaller hall, smaller room. He obviously couldn't say anything in response. But what she truly wanted to tell him is, I feel bad for them because they're Muslim. I feel bad for them because your religion allows you to treat them like this. It's your religion that treats them as second-class citizens. It's your religion that puts them in a camp-like hall and gives the large hall, the nice hall, the decorated hall, the beautiful entrance to the men. This is what she wanted to say, but obviously she couldn't say it. So again, next year, there was a plan that the mayor comes again and speaks. They said, let's fix it this time. You know, last year we were embarrassed. So she came in, and she was making her way towards the women's hall. They said, no, please, come to the main hall. But before that, we're going to put about 65 layers of hijab. So they put the hijab. She went in. It's all men. Where's the women? Oh, the women are still there. You're the only one that can come and speak in here. So she spoke. She left. And once again, she said, I feel bad for the woman in your community. If she had heard or read of Islam discriminating against women, Islam treating women as second-class citizens, maybe she didn't believe it, but believe it or not, once she walks out of that center with this type of setting, then rest assured she has no doubt that Muslims treat women as second-class citizens. And that is then attributed to the religion of Islam. Islam puts women down. Islam mistreats women. And probably their Prophet Muhammad was a womanizer too, because everything they say about Islam and all the rumors come out to be true. In that hall, amongst those women, there could have been PhDs, doctors, physicians, pharmacists, lawyers, teachers, respectable housewives. Why is it that they're not treated equally? Beats me. Abdullah bin Umar one day was giving a sermon, a speech. So he says, قال Rasulullah states, لا تمنعوا إماء الله بيوت الله. do not refrain, do not stop the female servants of God, the houses of God. Meaning, don't stop women from attending the mosque. His son, his own son, stood up and he says, Wallahi lanamna'hun. Wallah, we will stop them. We won't let them leave the house. We won't let them go to the mosque. Abdullah bin Umar says to him, أقول لك قال رسول الله. I'm telling you, this is what Rasulullah says. Just when? Who cares? He had the spirit of Jahiliyyah, wants to take back the Muslim Ummah to Jahiliyyah. He wants to make sure he implements his culture first, then the teachings of Islam. Some of us, we don't realize, but we're still stuck in the time of Jahiliyyah, ignorance. What is Jahiliyyah? Jahiliyyah doesn't necessarily mean you have to make an idol and worship the idol and bow in front of the idol. Jahiliyyah comes from jahl, ignorance. When we do something which basically has absolutely no justification, and it hurts the religion of Islam, and it harms the religion of Islam, more than it benefits us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed Rasulullah, and He sent the Holy Quran, and He revealed the last revelation so that we escape from our darknesses, from our ignorance, from our confusion into enlightenment. Allah waliyyu alladhina amanu yukhrijahum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur. From darkness into light, from confusion into certainty, from ignorance into knowledge and education. This is the job of Islam, and this is the reference that Fatema makes in her sermon in Fadak. وَأَنْقَذَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِأَبِي Muhammad. She says, Allah rescued you with my father Muhammad. You used to drink from the waters of the gutters and eat that which was left from the hind legs of the animals, and you would expect to be killed at any given moment and attacked by the next tribe at the night and the day, and you worshipped your idols and you buried your daughters alive. And then she says what? فَأَنْقَذَكُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah rescued you with my father Muhammad. He gave you a new life. You escaped from Jahiliyyah. Today, brothers and sisters, when we discuss the majalis of Fatema to Zahra, I reaffirm, if those majalis don't bring change to us, if we come to the majlis of Fatema and spiritually we leave as the same person, as far as what we know in our education, we leave the same person. As far as our minds and the fact that they don't get stimulated by what we hear from this minbar, we leave the same person. Our families, our communities, our Muslim ummah does not change, that this minbar has failed. Hasn't done its job. Allow me to discuss with you tonight the fiqh of women's rights and the following 3 steps. Number 1, what is fiqh? Number 2, how do we look into the hadiths that could be demeaning towards women in general? And number 3, what is the plan of Islam to empower and inspire the Muslim woman? After your loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A lot of times when we use the terminology fiqh, a lot of people think that it's a reference to Islamic laws, Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic regulations, Risala al-Amaliyah, about 1,000, 2,000, sometimes, mashallah, it could become up to 4,000 or 5,000 laws. You're supposed to read them, understand them. This is called fiqh. That indeed is how to implement, listen to me, how to implement the Islamic laws in your day-to-day lives, in the ibadat and muamalat. That is called the implementation of the minor fiqh, which is the Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic laws, minor fiqh. What is the major fiqh? Al-fiqh al-a'zam. Fiqh and the grand fiqh is to be able to gather all the Islamic sciences, Quran, philosophy, hadith, history, and every one of those that I mentioned has sub-branches, hundreds of sub-branches. For example, hadith isn't for us to just open books of hadith and read them. No. There is an entire science of rijal where we discuss the chain of narrators and the tabaqat of rijal. From the very first century, all those narrators are discussed, 2nd century, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Everyone and their biographies are discussed, and then the alim, the mujtahid, the faqih gives a verdict whether he then would accept the hadith of this man or reject his hadith. When it comes to tarikh, which tarikh do we take? When it comes to tafsir, which methodology of tafsir do we take into consideration when we're studying the Quran to then give out a fatwa, an Islamic verdict? Is it tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran? Is it tafsir of the Quran using hadith? Is it tafsir al-Quran using history? Is it tafsir al-Quran using philosophy and reason? Is it tafsir al-Quran, for example, using the explicit and implicit verses? Fiqh. And the ayah in Surah At-Tawbah that says لِيَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ speaks of the grand terminology of fiqh. And once we examine the rights of women in Islam, we should never examine them when it comes to the laws and regulations in the minor fiqh. But we look at the major fiqh. We begin with the Quran and aql and hadith, and we put all of them together, and then we can draw the fatwa and extract the Islamic rulings from the entire fiqh, the Islamic fiqh, which is the sciences of all the Islamic sciences combined. Let's begin with the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran reveals the second longest chapter and entitles it Al-Nisa, meaning that here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 14 centuries ago recognizes the importance of women in society. 14 centuries ago in the Arabian Peninsula, Allah reveals the second longest chapter and entitles it Women, and discusses the affairs of women within that chapter. While women were not even second-class citizens, they came after animals and slaves. This is explicitly out there in the Quran. But what is being implied here? A faqih is a person who uses the explicit terminologies and takes that which is being implied. So when we come to the Quran, we realize that the Quran has given a great deal of importance and significance to the existence of women into the family, into the community, and into the society. When I am about to give out a fatwa and declare an Islamic statement and come up with an Islamic theory, if it undermines the position of women, if it disrespects their existence, that goes against the spirit of Islam, the spirit of the Quran. That's called tafaqquh. When there is a fatwa that undermines the right of a woman as a wife within the family. That goes against the spirit of the teachings of the Quran. How? A woman has an argument with her husband. She's about to leave the house. Her husband says, "Where are you going?" She says, "I'm going to speak to Rasulullah. I'm going to tell Rasulullah of my misery, my difficulties." He says, "Where do you think you're going? He's not going to listen to you." She goes and she speaks to Rasulullah. Not only Rasulullah hears her, Allah hears her, and He reveals an entire chapter. Surah Al-Mujadala. لَقَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ في زوجها وتشتكي إلى الله والله يسمع تحاوركما. Meaning that if a woman is subject to injustice, tyranny, inequality within a marriage, within a family, and she's being abused, a fatwa that is released should not undermine that. It should also seek justice for her and equality for her. Today, in some conditions that we've seen and witnessed, and I'm sure every single one of you has come across, a woman wants to divorce her husband for many reasons. He abuses her. He hits her. He does not give nafaqah to her. He's careless. He's disrespectful. And there is a contract. How come? When I have a contract for someone to come and paint my house, he comes and paints my house, he leaves, I pay him right there and then. I don't hassle him. Built me a house, he builds me a house, when he's done I pay him. That's it, everything's done. I rent a house, we have a contract, we have an agreement, month to month I make the payment. You have a contract with your wife in marriage, it's called Aqdul Nikah. Just like Aqdul Bay', Aqdul Ijara. It's on. On this Aqd there is an understanding and an agreement. You cannot abuse her. You cannot treat her like a second-class citizen. She should not face any injustice. You have to pay your nafaqah. You cannot hit her. You cannot curse her. You cannot disrespect her. This is part of the contract and the agreement. This man, this intolerant man, breaks the laws and the terms of the contract. This woman says, "I want a divorce." Should it be easy or hard? Simple question. Should it be easy or hard? According to the Quran, the spirit of the Quran, a woman goes out of the house to tell Rasulullah, "I've had difficulty in my house." Allah recognizes her. He makes sure this man understands, look, you can't do injustice to this woman. You can't treat her like a slave in your house. Now this woman wants to divorce in our community. Go speak to the Mawlana. Mawlana's not around. Mawlana comes back. "Sister, I can't divorce you. Speak to your marja." She contacts Najaf. 3 months later they tell her, "Please be patient. May Allah reward you." She's divorced. "I want my dowry. This is my haq. I have a contract with the guy. He painted my house. I pay him. I have a contract with this woman. I married her. Now I divorced her. We don't want to live together. It's her haq. Her dowry is her haq. Tomorrow when you're placed in the grave, you'll be asked, why didn't you pay her her dowry?" This is the change that needs to be witnessed in our fiqh. Today, many of the women in our community, they suffer, but we don't listen to them. We don't hear their suffering. We give a deaf ear. Even the Hawza and the Marji'iyah sometimes gives them a deaf ear. This is the fiqh. Allah did not create men and women and He then is biased towards the men. Allah makes a general law for everyone. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَىٰ. We created you from men and women. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلٍ. We made you into different tribes and ethnicities and cultures and إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, the best of you between the men and women and different tribes and ethnicities, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. That's it. There is a lot to be said about the Quran, believe me, and this all, if we understand the Quran, and if we are more inspired by the Quran, then a lot of the implications and implementation of fiqh will change. Let's come to hadith, the world of hadith. Because there is a lot of times people open up a hadith, they say it, look at this hadith. And it's truly embarrassing. How can a hadith be so disrespectful towards women? How can it be so discriminating? Brothers, first prove to me that this is a hadith. Our problem is we've evolved into usulis. Our maraja are all usulis, but yet we're still living in the akhbari time. Not every hadith that you read in every book is a hadith. That's the difference between usulis and akhbaris. Usulis came and said, prove to me this is a hadith. That's the first step. When you prove to me it's a hadith, then I'll take it under consideration. We have hadiths. Let me read a couple of them for you. One. صوت المرأة عورة. The voice of woman is part of her awra, part of her hijab. Should be concealed. Second, من سعادة المرأة أن لا ترى رجلا وأن لا يراها رجل. Famous hadith that amongst the blessings for a woman is that she does not see a man and a man does not see her. Third hadith, بيت المرأة مسجدها. مسجد المرأة بيتها. The masjid of a woman is her home. Okay. First and foremost, we come to the rijal of those hadiths. Are those hadiths? They're attributed to the ma'soom. Did the ma'soom truly say them? We have to go through a chain of narrators. We examine the chain of narrators. According to the master of hadith and the master of rijal, Grand Ayatollah al-Kha'i, he says those three hadiths do not exist. The rijal of those hadiths are inaccurate. To him, it's as if they were never in our books. Being in our books or not being in our books does not make any difference to him. He says, to me, they don't exist. Some ulama have come to explain those hadiths. Explain them. It does not mean that Masjid al-Mar'ati Baytuha, the mosque of a woman is her home. That means if your wife wants to leave the house to go shopping, to go to school, to go visit her parents, to go visit her family, you tell her, why are you leaving the masjid? Stay in your house, stay in your kitchen. This is the masjid for you. Stay here. No. It means that when she works in the house, she receives the thawab of being at the masjid. This is fiqh. Fiqh is the way we understand hadith, not the way that we desire to understand it. We understand it the way it's meant from the ma'soom, if it was stated by the ma'soom. Second, صوت المرأة عورة. The voice of woman is part of her hijab. So she has to speak with sign language. That's not the case. Once again, if we accept the fact that this hadith was revealed, personally it's very difficult to accept such a hadith. Because how would then Fatema Zahra stand in the middle of the masjid and give an hour-long sermon? How would Sayyida Zainab stand and give an hour-long sermon? See, this is faqaha, when we just read and we don't examine and we don't look into the hadith. But if it was stated by the ma'soom, then obviously means the seductive nature of the voice tone of the woman. Because sometimes woman can speak in a seductive manner. So it means that this manner of speaking is forbidden. We all understand that. We don't even need a hadith for us to tell that. من سعادة المرأة, a blessing for a woman is that she does not see men and men do not see her. What, so we imprison her from the moment she's born until the moment she dies? So she does not see any other man? What kind of religion is that? No. If it were to be mentioned by the Ma'soom, then it means a reference made by the Ma'soom to another type of seeing and witnessing. So the world of hadith, brothers and sisters, again, sometimes the way we desire to look at that hadith and use that hadith and use it to our advantage is not the way that the Ma'soom meant it. And the Ma'soom desired for it. And Islam, brothers and sisters, with this I conclude, has a special plan to rejuvenate, give life, and inspire and empower the Muslim woman. You see, an educated mother, an educated wife, an educated mother means educated children, means an educated family. A brave wife, a brave mother means brave and undefeatable children. A determined wife and a determined mother means determined children and a bright future for your family. A depressed, broken, shattered, uneducated mother means a broken family. Children who will be defeated with low self-esteem. Uneducated wife and uneducated mother means uneducated children. You're not securing a bright future for your children and your family by not allowing your wife, your daughter, your sister to seek education. By treating them within the family, within the community, within our societies as second-class citizens, believe me, brothers, wallahi, we remain stagnant. The Angela Merkels in our community will never be known, and that is because of us. 27 countries today in the world are headed and led by women, by females. Denmark, Thailand. But yet, in our communities, this is why we've remained stagnant for so long. This is why we lack leadership from the Muslim community when it comes to the woman. But yet Islam and the Knights of Fatimiyya tell us be inspired by Fatima to Zahra, who is the very first leader since the inception, woman leader since the inception of the religion of Islam. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and we're close to the Wafat of al-Banin, the mother of Abu al-Fadl Abbas, and let's make a mention of her. When Amir al-Mu'mineen spoke to Aqil, what did he tell? Did Aqil go find me a beautiful woman? A rich woman? No. He says, Aqil, go find me a womb of a mother who will prepare for me the sons that I need for the 10th of Muharram. This is what I need. Go and look for that person and that personality for me. A mother within the family, an empowered woman within the family, within the community will ensure a brighter future for the religion of Islam. Once again, let us go back to the ayah of Surah Al-Anfal. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu istajibu. Be reactive, respond, be alert to the call of Allah and Rasulullah. إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ, to that which will give you life, which will enable you to live a life of success and victory. And Rasulullah made that clear by the way he treated Fatima, that she's a role model for every man and every woman, young and old. She became the source of inspiration even for the grand scholars. And she became the alima, the scholar that would teach the disciples of Rasulullah, Salman al-Muhammadi, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, al-Miqdad. Those were the disciples of Rasulullah, yet they were the students of Fatima. They would attend the class of Fatima to Zahra. And that is why today, Hadith al-Kisa that you read is narrated by whom? Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, that says, Sami'tu Fatima. I heard from Fatima directly myself. He was her student. The source of inspiration, this alima, the scholar, who when she walked into the presence of Rasulullah, Aisha says, قَامَ لَهَا. He would stand up for her. قَبَّلَ يَدَهَا. He would kiss her hand. He would then kiss her forehead. وَأَجْلَسَهَا مَجْلِسًا. And he would say, you sit in the position of Rasulullah, the place of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah would then look at her and says, فِدَاهَا أَبُوهَا. May her father be a sacrifice for her. Fatima was in that home that Rasulullah for 9 months after the revelation of Surah Ayat al-Tathir would come and stand in front of her door. And he would say, Assalamu alaykum ya ahl al-bayt. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Then he would seek permission to enter the house of Fatima, the sacred home, mahbatul wahy, the hub of the angels. What happened to this home, and to this lady, and to the honor and sharaf of Rasulullah, the beloved of Rasulullah, the only surviving child of Rasulullah? And it is very difficult for us to remember and to recall and to speak of the tragedy, knowing that it brings so much pain to the heart of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. How can he tolerate the fact that they gathered in front of the door of Fatima to Zahra? They said, come out, O Ali, Talha, Zubair, they were inside the house. Come out and pay allegiance to Abu Bakr. They refused. He put the wood behind the door of the house of Fatima. They told him, in the house is Fatima to Zahra. قَالَ وَإِن. Does not matter. She saw so much pain. The tragedies and the calamities fell onto her to a point where she says, صُبَّتْ عَلَيَّ مَصَائِبٌ لو أنها صبت على الأيام صرنا لياليا. If the days would be inflicted by the pain that I saw, it would turn into the night. Allahu Akbar. She says, Ya Ali, built for me Baytul Ahzan, the house and the sanctuary, so I can sit and mourn and cry. She cried so much, they came to him, they said, Ya Ali, tell Fatima to either cry during the day or during the night. Her cries are bothering us. Allahu Akbar. She, in a night like this, went into her room. She had washed herself and she had changed her clothes. She says, Oh Fidda, I'm going to go inside my room and I'm going to do tasbih and tahleel. once you no longer hear my voice, know that I have gone towards my father, Rasulullah. She goes inside the room, and Fidda comes and checks up on her. She's supplicating, she's praying, she's doing istighfar, she's doing hamd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Until Fidda comes and stands behind the door. She no longer hears the voice of Fatema. She wants to open the door and go inside the room. In that moment, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein walk from the door inside the house of Fatema to Zahra. Oh Fidda, where is our mother? It's lunchtime. We want to break bread with our mother. She says, your mother is resting. Ya abna Rasulillah. Please sit and eat. Imam Hassan says, how can we eat without our mother Fatima? He goes inside the room. He sees that his mother Fatima is no longer breathing. Imam Hassan falls onto the body of his mother Fatima. Imam Hussein, traditions tell us, go and grabs the feet of his mother Fatima. She says, oh ya ummah, ana habibi kul Hussein, ana waladik al Hussein, ana saghirik al Hussein. Ajibini ya ummah ya Fatima. Oh mother, please give us one word, one response. I am your beloved Hussein. Then they went back to the mosque. Amir al-Mu'mineen was standing to tell Amir al-Mu'mineen. They stood in front of him. They took off their amama. They said to him, Ya Abatah, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, لقد ماتت أمنا فاطمة. Amir al-Mu'mineen can no longer stand on his feet. He collapsed. He went, he saw Fatema to Zahra. Allahu Akbar. Yes, he washed her, he buried her. They say when he buried her and he put Fatema to Zahra in her grave, he no longer can stand the pain. Amir al-Mu'mineen broke down. He looked towards the grave of Rasulullah. He says, Ya Rasulullah, take back your amana. Take back Fatima, but I do apologize to you. You gave her to me as a sound, healthy, gorgeous young woman, and now I am returning her to you with a broken rib. Ya Rasulullah, ask her what happened to us after you departed. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, in dua. نسألك اللهم وندعوك ونقسم عليك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. There is a young man who has been diagnosed by cancer and they've asked us for dua. There are many ill ones, there are many with special hajat. May Allah grant to all your hajat 10 times with the loudest of your voices. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم إنا نقسم عليك بأحب الخلق إليك محمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين والتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. إلهنا بفاطمة. Every man and woman present in this majlis with a sin, forgive our sins. Every man and woman, mu'mineen and mu'minat with an illness, shower onto them from your cure. Shower onto the graves of the mu'mineen and mu'minat from your mercy and compassion. أحينا حياة محمد وآل محمد وأمتنا ممات محمد وآل محمد وارزقنا زيارة محمد وآل محمد وارزقنا شفاعة محمد وآل محمد. All together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك